Hello and welcome to round 5 of the 2022 Superlights Championship. I'm Ewan Gale, alongside is Caitlin Penny, going to give us all the insight we need to get through the evening of racing. It is good to be back, and we are in Baku. It's the Baku City Circuit, Azerbaijan, for what promises to be an exciting evening of racing. Plenty to dive into when we get into qualifying here. It was the THR of Luke Maguire who was fastest in practice, ahead of Lewis Bickers in second, and championship leader Shimon Frelich in third. Caitlin, good evening, how are you doing? And what are you looking forward to tonight?
Hi there, Ewan. Yeah, those are the three people I was absolutely expecting to see at the top of the times coming into this. Shimon, of course, the most consistent driver so far this season, not finishing outside of the top 4 yet in the first 4 rounds, but that first elusive victory still evades him. Bickers and Maguire, that's pretty much a cert. I mean, Maguire's won every race he's finished, and Lewis Bickers has been on the podium twice, may have even been 3 times had he not missed Australia. So yeah, those are definitely the 3 drivers that I would have expected to see at the top, and will probably be so at the end of qualifying as well. But you know, this is an extremely close championship, very nearly spec, with the exception of the few minor upgrades that the teams have brought in. And as a result, it's there are definitely people who could put in a surprise result, but definitely look out for Maguire, Bickers, and Frelich.
Now, this is the interesting thing that you pointed out there, that Shimon Frelich, top of the standings, 62 points, only 2 points ahead of Jan Granqvist, but no victories yet in the first 4 races. Now, we often see in Superlights, in fact, all the way through the GPVWC, that, you know, the first few races we tend to get a sort of a feeling out phase, figuring out who really is at the top of the standings and who maybe is more in the midfield. But no, it doesn't look like we're going to get that this season, because the results are sort of all over the place in a way that it really could be 4, 5, 6 or 7 people all the way through the season, you feel?
Definitely. We're still really, really early, and we've been quite guilty this year of talking about the championship way too early, because right now, like you said, the drivers are just feeling out their cars, and their competition too. They're getting to know kind of who their rivals really, really are. And actually, I like the way there's kind of a similar rhetoric forming here to in like the Formula One World Championship right now, where you've got drivers.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is what we like to do.
Yeah, starting off really, really well, scoring a couple of podiums like Lewis Bickers, who is basically the Carlos Sainz of this series so far. Shimon Frelich topping the standings early, super consistent, super fast. But then you have Luke Maguire, who's basically the Max Verstappen, you know, winning every race that he finishes, but just not quite having the consistency to finish all the time. He retired in Australia and didn't make it to Bahrain for whatever reason. I feel like someone told me the reason, but I can't remember. But yeah, it's quite interesting to see those similarities there. And just like we have in real life, we have a championship forming that is going to be unpredictable and is going to have a few more swings of the pendulum. And that's why, it's still really early to be talking about this, but I guess these rounds are as important as any others, still the same number of points.
Absolutely, every race counts all the way through. We're on board with the championship leader at the moment, Shimon Frelich, for Royal Blue Racing, top of the constructors or the team standings as well through turn 16. Caitlin, we're on board with the championship leader. We'll follow him around the lap, I'm sure. Do you want to take us through a lap of the Baku City Circuit?
Absolutely, it's a great circuit. It's very unique, and that's what I love about circuits on the calendar. And what makes it unique is it's kind of half and half nature. You've got this bit. Look how long this straight is. This entire time that I've been talking, he's just been going flat out, and he's still not in the braking zone. Now he brakes and turns into turn 1. The first few corners, the first 6 or 7 corners are all right angled 90-degree turns, where it's very easy to do that, misjudge the corner, clip the inside wall, and if you do that, it's going to carry you straight into the outside wall, which Shimon has done. And those walls are very jagged too, so you're very likely to lose your front wing if you do that in the race. Here's another one, a bit more curve to work with on the outside there. and then into the first right-hander of the track. This section is all about having low wings and high mechanical grip through a little chicane there, but even though it's a chicane, it's still 90 degree right angle corners. Now we come to the tightest corner of the track so far, turn 7, little bit of a double apex, although realistically it feels like one, and then turn 8. When it came out, it was 5.1 meters wide. It's been slightly widened since then, and the rest of the castle section is still extremely narrow, and keeping it out of the walls there is a full-time job. Fast through the top section of the circuit, this is the other half, the part that I like to call I can't remember what name I came up with the other day, like the keyhole or something, because it's jagged and it's rounded, and then it flings you out towards this long, kind of like the shaft of the key, with the DRS being activated quite late on in the straight, but you're still going with the DRS open for quite a long time, and you're up to 200 miles per hour by the time you cross the start-finish line.
Tiger Pullman first over the line, already laps flying in, and it wasn't that good a lap actually from Simracing. 10th already at the moment, 14 drivers have set a lap. Interesting already to see the differences in times through the sectors with different setups perhaps. Fabian Sherchik in P4, 43.9 through the first sector, way faster than Sandeep Singh, who's fastest at the moment, about half a second in it. Then Singh finding plenty of time in the second and third sector. So Sandeep Singh for Rotor Formula Racing first at the moment, Jan Granqvist P2, Hygo Poom up in P3 for TTF Racing. Good start for Hygo Poom. So there is Yukapeka Lalu there looking in the red arrow racing, and he's in P4 as well. Yukapeka, you know, maybe not as renowned for his qualifying, but his race pace so fast. But you're just about to talk setups, Caitlin.
Yeah, sorry, I started talking because I had a little bit of ping, so I was speaking of you a bit there. Apologies about that. Yeah, no, setups are crucially important here. We saw in the Formula Sprint 1 race the other day that people have gone for very, very varied setups here, and the people who qualified at the front weren't necessarily the best cars. We had the TC Soft Racing cars the other day who qualified supremely well because they were so quick through the corners and through the castle section. But the trouble is, in the race, people would get ahead of them on the long straight, and then just park the bus through the castle section and the top part of the circuit, where the TCS off cars were quick. And then by the time they got back to the straight again, they couldn't live with their opponents. So right now, you've got to be thinking not just about what makes your car fast, but also what makes your car raceable, overtakeable, and it's too late for that anyway. I mean, right now they're in Parc Fermé conditions, so what I'm really talking about is what they would have been doing leading up to this point. Now you've just got to stick with what you've got and commit to it.
A few bit of admin notices to go through then. Luke Maguire and Chris Butcher 6th and 7th at the moment, but on the alternative strategy with the tyres. Top 10 of course after starting the tyres they qualify with, so Luke Maguire, Chris Butcher, both THRs, they're not even splitting it, they're really confident going on that tyre. That'll open up plenty of possibilities in the race. Sandeep Singh then is top for 140.616 and Granqvist just 0.085 behind Poom, and Lalu also within 2/10 of the top runner. Sherchik in P5 for Blackhawk Racing. Luke Maguire and Butcher, as we said, P6 and 7 on those medium tyres. George Sutton in the second, Red Arrow Racing P8, Lewis Bickers P9 in the second Royal Blue car, and Olivia Perikian for Super Venturi P10. That's a good effort as well, ahead of David Vasserman, Pascal Poles, Mark Fight, Luke Mitchell, Mateusz Kozowski. Frelich only P16 at the moment. Dylan Platt, he's already won a race this season, he's down in P17. Francesco Leone is behind Patrick Rozak, and we've got Bryn Evans, Ben Willis, Christian Pascal all the way down in P22. That's a surprise. And Giuseppe Saracino, Maxi Geisinger yet to complete a lap, as is Andrew Waring, 25 at the moment out on track.
Bryn Evans, that's a name I recognise. Bryn has been racing in Formula Sprint 2, and this is quite a jump up there for Bryn, who is still a very young, relatively inexperienced driver, but also pretty quick. And the trouble that Bryn's been having all the way through the season so far is a lot of kind of ping, kind of rubber banding issues. So hopefully he's got that sorted for today, because we can't be having that in this league. Although it has been going a little better for him in the recent rounds of FS2. Only 2.2 seconds off the top time right now, which yeah, for an FS2 driver is not too shabby, not too bad whatsoever. Andrew Waring, you also mentioned, doesn't really do that much SL2 racing, and he has done GPVWC before. He's not new by any means, but it is still a little bit of a surprise to see him on the grid today.
Just as you say that, Giuseppe Saracino split singing Grandfist up into P2.077. The top three, 0.085 between them is so incredible. As we look at Luke McGuire, still on those medium tyres in P7. He's obviously been bumped down by Saracino there. But the THR flying through the castle section and now hoping maybe for a bit of straight line speed through the final sector. Down into the braking zone, downhill, turn 15. As Caitlin was rightly saying earlier on her little guide with Frelick, very tight through this section and then through the final corner of sorts. I know we got a few little sweepers, yeah, but really the last braking zone and then the long flat out run down to the finish line. It's the fastest middle sector, is it? Is that right? At 29.973, that is a great effort on those tyres. Luke McGuire, full chat down towards the line. Where can the THR go?
P1 for Frelick as we speak, and Maguire goes 8th, not 7th, sorry, there you go. One thing to keep in mind is if you see a purple sector on the broadcast overlay rather than on race view, that just means they're faster than the leader's time. So Martin Schierzik here hasn't necessarily gone fastest of everyone in the second sector, but he has gone faster than Fabian Schierzik has gone faster than the overall leader. So this could be a challenging lap. It's only 9th, so obviously struggling in the other sectors, and that's a little worrying actually, because the second sector is the one which requires all the downforce and the cornering speed. So maybe Schierzik angling his car towards that a little, which could put him under pressure later on when it comes to overtaking. Jukka-Pekka Lalu is second there, and he does have the fastest third sector overall, and that is a straight line speed sector there. So fantastic stuff from Jukka-Pekka Lalu. He's got the setup right, he's got the car right, and he's second place as we talk with 5 minutes remaining.
Behind Sandeep Singh, who managed to jump back up into P1. Interesting you said about Schierzik in the middle sector, because actually on the first run it was the first sector that he was fastest of anybody in, so really interesting to see Schierzik. Maybe it's just a combination of not getting the whole lap together. Here is Andrew Waring then. We were talking about Waring standing in this week with TTF Racing. He's up in P7, a fantastic effort. 2 TTFs in the top 8 with Hygo Poom up in P4. Saracino got into P5, as we said. He's back in the pits, probably preparing for a last run. But other than that, it's just Christian Pascal in the pits. 23 cars out on track at the moment, but of course, no worry or no danger of them hitting each other as Waring just gives a kiss of the wall out of 27.
This is Waring's first outing in the Superlights. Even back when it was called Super League Lights, he did not compete in that. He has done one Super League Grand Prix. He did the Italian Grand Prix back in 2015. Failed to finish on that occasion. And his real success has come in Formula Sprint 2, where he has a number of wins. And as you were pointing out before this broadcast started, mainly at the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve, which is where he feels at his most confident. Here is Oliver Perekian, who last week I kept calling Olivier, and I will try to remember this time, last race I called him Olivier. I will try to remember this time that he is indeed not French, but anyway.
Lovely bit of flair though, Caitlin, lovely bit of flair.
Indeed. And he's on a pretty good lap here, 2 personal best sectors. This should launch him up into the top 10 actually, because he's going at least 3/10 up on what he's already done. He opens the DRS on the rear wing, and no slipstream of course, it's single person qualifying. Crossing the line, it goes stays P13, so, and his third sector was quite a long way down, a couple of tenths down on what he's previously done, so maybe a little mistake coming onto that final straight, and Bicker's there flying in the second sector.
Yeah, Bicker's absolutely flying in that Royal Blue Racing. We know it is a fast car, Can he get the final sector to match the middle sector? If he can, he's going to be really competitive here. Lewis Bickers then down towards the line, absolutely full chat as we have mentioned all the way through qualifying, and Lewis Bickers up to P3. That's a brilliant lap at the end. We'll probably have time for one more. We'll get round. Mark Geisinger this time, P23 at the moment for Mode Auto Concepts. It's a beautiful livery, that one. Cross the line, can he improve? He can, but only to P21 ahead of Evans and Rojak.
Couple more drivers improving further down. David Wasserman in P15 has a chance to get in the top 10 potentially. He'd need to find 4/10, which is asking quite something, but this has been a decent lap so far from Mark Veit. In fact, his first sector time is only 2/10 down on what Lewis Bickers has been doing, and Bickers has a second faster as a whole. So yeah, David here on a decent win. And goes P14, so does gain a place. Giuseppe Saracino now fastest of anyone in the first sector, so that is a true purple there. As he goes through the castle section, keeps the wall little twitch as he exits the castle section, although there's no real long straight following that, so this section you don't really lose that much in by having a tiny little twitch like that. That corner's tough, the curb on the inside is huge there, and there's the track dips away from you, so actually keeping it within the groove there is difficult to say the least. He's a little down in the he's a long way down in the second sector, so ignore me, he's going to be miles off on this lap.
Yeah, shame, because he, as you rightly said, he looked really good in the first sector. Just having a look through the rest of the field, who's doing what. Pascal Polen's personal best lap goes into P10 for Rotor Formula Racing. Teammate Sandeep Singh on pole at the moment. There he is going through the capital section. THR watch Luke Maguire on that alternate strategy, only P9 at the moment, Butcher P11. So it'll be interesting to see how much those tyres pay dividends later on when we get into the race. Mark Veit on a personal best lap at the moment, P16. Let's see what he can do as Andrew Waring does a personal best as well through the first sector. So plenty of people improving. Francesco Leone, P20, he is improving in the go speed as well as Dylan Platt, who's P18 at the moment. So plenty of green across the board. Let's follow Andrew Waring through the final sector down into turn 15. Let's see if he can absolutely nail it. Plenty close to the wall, and into the wall he goes.
He's done a Checo Perez. Goodness me. So Andrew Waring there will not be able to set another lap. The timer is almost ticking to 0, and even if it wasn't, he wouldn't be able to go back out again. Fabian Schiertzek, faster than Sandeep Singh's time in the first sector. The checkered flag will await him. We're at the crunch time in the session. Lalu and Frelick and a couple more drivers are setting up for their final flying runs. They would have just started it, actually. Saracino doesn't look like he's going to improve. We're still watching Schiertzek, and look at that, very quick second sector too. We've seen already in this session he doesn't necessarily have the straight line speed, but if he's put together a fast enough time in the first and second sector times, it might not matter for this session. Across the line he goes. Oh, only P12. He is really struggling for straight line speed here. He's losing almost a second on the straights. Yeah. That's very ominous for Fabian Schiertzek.
Yeah,
Here's Luke Maguire on his final run. Yes,
really alarming for a race.
And Maguire, importantly, is still within the top 10 on that alternate strategy.
Yeah, this is going to come back to THR later on. We've seen it through the season already, but can Maguire promote himself back up slower? It's not his best middle sector by any stretch of the imagination into the 30 seconds for that part of the lap. Now he's just really got to hook it up. We've seen him in the final sector struggling on his previous lap. Lalu and Singh back in the pits as well, so no one's going to challenge for pole at the moment. It looks pretty done for Singh, but here goes Maguire. Can he salvage something? No, only P8 for Luke Maguire.
Great lap though.
Luke Maguire. Chris Butcher trying to promote himself in qualifying, and he's going to pit as well. So poor middle sector for Chris Butcher. So it looks like we're pretty much set. Boom, back in the pit. Grangfist into P3 ahead of Bickers. So Grangfist gets into P3 with his final lap, only a 10th away from pole. Look how close pole is though. Singh 140.415, Jukka-Pekka Lalu 0.027 away for Red Arrow Racing. What a qualifying session, Caitlin.
Amazing stuff. The top 3 separated by just over a 10th of a second. a whole second would get you all the way down to about 17th place. That's unbelievable stuff. Also, shout out to Luke Mitchell there, currently leading the FS2 championship and qualifying 17th in Super League in SL2. Again, quite a step up there. Here are the finishing positions. We've got Luke Maguire on pole position by just 0. That graphic appears to be slightly wrong, actually, but he's up there by only just. That's the practice times. There we go. Sorry, it's Sandeep Singh on pole by 0.027 of a second from Jakub Lally. Then Jan Granqvist, Lewis Bickers, Shimon Frelick, Hygo Poom, Giuseppe Saracino. What a lap there from Luke Maguire. He's embarrassed everyone from 9th down. And I tell you what, if he'd done that lap on the soft tyres, he probably would have taken pole. Andrew Waring will be 9th, followed by... sorry, I didn't quite see that. I believe it's George Sutton. No, Pascal Pollent and then George Sutton. Fabian Schierzik, Chris Butcher, Mark Veit, Oliver Perekian, David Wasserman, Luke Mitchell, Dylan Platt, Bryn Evans, and Patrick Rojak. Those are the top 20. Then we get to Francesco Leoni, Mateusz Kozowski, Maxi Geisinger, Ben Willis, and Christian Pascal. And so 25 of our 26 maximum cars have turned up for this one. Not bad, not bad.
Yeah, the only thing to point out though is that's just dropped down to P24. Trying to figure out who has dropped out. We're going to go to a break while we get ready for the race, while the drivers go out on their warm-ups. And as soon as we figured out who's dropped out, we'll bring it to you when we come back.